Okay. Whoops. So good morning, everybody. Glad to see you. Those of you who are here almost on time, are on time, pre-time, are pretty close to being on time. Thank you very much for being here this morning. So a couple of things to get started this morning. First of all, I think we have several new people who have joined us. And Morgan, we're going to introduce you in a little while, so you don't need to do that now. But people will hear from you. And Aaron, good to see you. Have to get an update about what's the latest happening with you. And oh, Mick, hey, good to see you. Didn't know, I knew Kelly was going to be here this morning, but you probably got lots of stuff to tell us.
Morning, Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
All of a sudden, I want Nick to talk this morning, not me.
Well, he's going to get a chance to do that.
Good.
And Bruce Tucker, I think, are you new to us this morning?
I've been on a couple times before. I'm with Accor, Director of Sales. We manufacture HDP conduit that they put the fiber in.
Okay, thank you. And we had somebody else who is new here, Michelle Gibson. Michelle, are you there?
Good morning.
Yeah. So good morning.
Hi.
Just want to introduce yourself real quickly.
Yes, hi. I'm Michelle Gibson. I'm with National Conduit Supply. We are a full service provider, and I am based in Arizona, and our company is headquartered in Sarasota, Florida.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Rebecca, have you been here before? Rebecca Carter? Rebecca, are you there? There you go.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Can you introduce yourself real quickly?
to municipalities in Arizona.
I'm sorry, we missed that. Can you say that again, please?
We work with several tribes and municipalities in
Got
Arizona.
it. Okay.
Native Network. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And Laura Vitkus?
Good morning. Hi, I've been here before, just a couple times though. I'm with the Pima County Health Department. I'm program coordinator for Healthy Pima, and I do a lot of rural outreach research.
Great. I always tell people I have a good memory, just a little bit short. So if you've been here before, I may not remember. So let me do this real quick. Okay. Well, let's just jump into the meeting. We got lots of things to cover. So first thing, let's just jump into Nick, you want to introduce yourself quickly and give us an update on what's happening. Lots of stuff is going on these days. I know you guys are busy.
Sure, Steve. Thanks again for having me. Just give a quick update here. So we have concluded, quote unquote, concluded our final proposal process, and we released our final proposal for public comment last night. So that will be open for 7 days, which is the requirement of the NTIA BEAD program. So
Nick, can I interrupt 1 second? Nick, can you introduce yourself real quickly?
Oh, yes. Nick Capozzi, State Broadband Director at the Arizona Commerce Authority.
Okay, no, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So our big initiative right now is the BEAD program, the $993 million allocation. So we have preliminarily selected providers to provide 100% coverage to unserved and underserved households across the state. Those results are live right now on our website. I think Mark just put the link in there, and Kelly did. So I think everybody has access to that. So it's open for public comment for 7 days. It will close September 3rd at 6 p.m. Arizona time. And then we have to submit that final proposal incorporating those comments the following day on September 4th to comply with NTIA's 90-day period to run basically $1 billion grant program. So we're on time and under budget, as you'll see in those results. We're certainly proud of the results, and welcome any feedback in these next 7 days. But I think it's a good result for the state.
I know, Nick, we're going to be sending this out, and I sent out your notice already this morning. But can you give us a quickie rundown on um, how the results have turned out so far?
Sure. So I think the big numbers that industry are kind of looking towards and as what type of technology is being deployed. And, this really did depend on what the applications entailed. So, all things being considered, technologies are considered equal as a part of the benefit for the bargain round under the NTIA's new BEAD guidance. However, it really was up to the applicants to prove that that they could deploy their type of technology in the diverse areas across Arizona. So, from our results, we had just about 75% fiber coverage across the state, 15% licensed fixed wireless, 4% unlicensed fixed wireless, and 7% low Earth orbit satellite. I think that the big number that NTIA was looking for is how much would it cost per passing for deployment, and we have a staggering number in Arizona of $2,782 per BSL, which is well below the national average. I think that's in large part due to the competition that we created under the BEAD program, but also the private investment that is going into the program. So we're going to provide about $521 million in BEAD funding to connect all of these households, while private industry and entities are providing $512 million. So I think it's about a 48% match rate. And for context here, the minimum requirement was 25%. We saw anywhere from a 25% on the low range to 96% match rate. So a lot of competition from providers to serve the areas that they choose.
So, Nick, we were on tap for close to $1 billion. Are we still getting all that much money, or what's the story with that?
Good question. A question that we don't have the answer to, Steve, at the Commerce Authority. From what we heard, we'll submit our plan. NTIA is advised just to spend dollars on deployment, and the Secretary of U.S. Commerce will make the decisions on how states can spend that money after final proposals are submitted.
So that decision still has not been made yet.
That's correct.
Okay. So a couple of things I did send out. Thank you, Kelly. I did send out your email again this morning in case anybody is not on your list. And Kelly, you want to say anything real quickly about how to get you connected?
I'm just loaf bread over here, a loaf of bread compared to Nick. You had all the great information coming from him. I put the link in the chat, and we're already getting some public comments coming in, which is great. So it is open until next Wednesday. We do want everyone to participate in that. So we just want to thank you for having us and really make sure that everyone gets that their comments in. And I do see Erin Lorandos is here, and she was texting me late last night with some questions. And anyway, she's on it as usual. It's nice to see Erin and everyone. But anyway, thanks already for the feedback that's coming in.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. So who's got questions for Nick or Kelly? Questions for Nick or Kelly? Going once?
Mark Goldstein. Hey, Nick, I just wanted to, I put in the chat a link to Broadband IO, which within a day of all states' releases have done nice summary tables. So, one can read a kind of text overview of technology allocation in your report, and you can try to slog your way through Exhibit 2, this spreadsheet that has every carrier listed many times for each service area that they're awarded. But the link I did put in the chat will give you a summary organized by descending amounts of money, which is a convenient way to look at it. That's all I'll say.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments before?
Hey, Nick, it's Bill DiAugustino with
go ahead, Bill.
Looks like a really well-balanced approach to serving the homes. Congratulations on that. And what a tremendous cost savings it appears from the initial view too. So that's fantastic. Kind of in line with Steve's question, do you think there will be room in the proposal for any workforce development funding, or is there any thought around that?
Yeah, so it's certainly one of our top priorities to make sure that these projects happen, and obviously you need the workforce to do it. What I'll say, because all states are on the same timeline right now, so providers are going to be really competing for a scarce resource of workers to deploy the projects. We've advocated at the highest levels to Commerce. Ultimately, we've heard it's the Secretary's decision on how that they choose, or if they choose to let us use remaining funding. But I think workforce certainly aligns with what Arizona wants to see.
Great. Thank
So
you.
the term non-deployment funding hasn't been used. That's what Commerce calls this bill. So if we allocated 500 and some odd million, there's 400 million that either will get clawed back or approved for proposed uses as non-deployment funding. That's in the wind. Um, the bets are pretty even about whether the government will just claw back the difference or allow states to now propose non-deployment funding use.
Yeah, I assume that. I was just wondering if that conversation was already taking place, and obviously it is. So thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Nick or Kelly?
Maybe
So
I'll,
Kelly, you want to put your email if you haven't in the chat again, and if people
Sure
aren't
thing.
on your list, to make sure that they can contact you.
so
No problem.
Steve, I have a quick thought.
Go
This
ahead,
is
Randy.
Randy. The one thing that was interesting, there are actually two things that jumped out to me. One is the role of very significant matches in the current program. Like I think that swung the needle almost very decisively in some areas, and so that's something that we've seen in some of the early pre-benefit of the bargain numbers that came out previously in sort of mid-Atlantic states. But and the other thing that I thought was very interesting is this is maybe one of the first state awards where the actual funding level per location for fiber is less than other technologies, which is sort of really astounding. And again, that's not because fiber is cheap, but it's largely kind of a product I think of substantial matches. But I don't know if you wanted to say anything about just the fiber versus licensed fixed versus unlicensed, because I know those were the three technologies that were in play.
Yeah, Randy, good to see you again.
Yeah, same here, Nick.
We touched base a couple weeks ago in Denver. But you're spot on. Providers had to come to the table and have a different strategy going into this round. I don't think it's really any secret that fiber projects will cost more in deployment. But to keep that cost low, you have to provide a lot more of their own capital to be competitive with other technologies. So that's exactly what we saw as a part of this round, and I think the results, Randy, as you noted, speak for that.
So Nick, did I see, and maybe you said this, I get distracted sometimes paying attention to other things with the meeting, but did I understand that we're talking 100% coverage now?
We are.
Cool.
And Nick, Mark Goldstein again. Two of the tribal bids seemed pretty high on a cost per BSL level. I guess by my calculations, Hobie Telecom was 36,000 per BSL, which for an unlicensed wireless project does seem high, and White Mountain Apache 67K or so per BSL. Do you expect those numbers are going to be supportable and amenable to NTIA?
Look, so we've met with NTIA. As we all know, being from Arizona, these are tough areas to serve. There's lack of infrastructure there already. There's non-continuous land for these areas, and some of them are landlocked by other tribes. So, we're expecting these to be more expensive to serve. We have the allocation. We've run a competitive program where we've been able to drive costs down. We are certainly in Arizona going to go to bat and respect the tribal sovereignty and make sure these investments go to where they need to go.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Aaron seems to be happy with what you just said. Okay. Any other questions for Nick or Kelly before we move on? Okay. So quickly, Lucy, you want to give?
I was going to ask one question.
I'm sorry.
Nick, were there a number of locations where the cost was not the primary determinant, but the scaling of the technology? Like what percentage of locations were like that?
Henry, I'd have to look back on actual percentages of locations, but certainly applicants' ability to demonstrate that they are able to serve the locations that they bid on as a part of the areas which are they willing to serve was certainly a factor. So cost is not the sole factor of how the determinations are made. The applicants really need to prove that they can deploy and meet the minimum criteria for BEAD eligibility.
Okay. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Okay. Thank you, Nick, for being here. Appreciate it. Kelly, good to see you. We haven't seen you guys in a while, so I know you've been out busy traveling and being busy with other things, but we're glad to see you this morning. So appreciate that. Okay. So let's move on real quickly. Holly, I think you might be the only one from the state library. Anything in particular you need to share?
No, and Malo isn't able to be with us. She's dealing with trees that were felled during the storm.
Yeah, no, she sent me a note last night.
I'm like, which one? Because we've had a few this week.
I'm not sure. I think maybe it was the Tuesday night one. Anyway, so no, I don't have any updates from State Library.
Okay, thank you. And John Kelly, you're welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while. As you know, you and I chatted the other day. Anything you want to say about the Arizona legislature that you can say in public?
Thankfully, they're not around. So that's all as Forrest Gump would say, that's all I have to say about that.
Was there any bills, any broadband related bills that we missed?
That didn't get through. I mean, they had that whole, we're going to move the broadband office to DOA. That obviously didn't go through, but I think ACA has done a really good job of, I think, reaching out to communities and tamping down a lot of that concern. There's just constant drama with the legislature. It's everybody's least favorite soap opera, but at least they don't come back for 4 months. I think the only thing everybody's a little concerned about is that there seems to be some fiscal headwinds coming our way because of either federal funding cuts or potentially some uncertainty in the economy, things like Intel and other kinds of things going on. But none of that has really become reality yet. So I think we're just living in an anxious world.
Okay, thanks, John. Good to have you back again.
Thanks for resending the calendar.
You bet. And Lucy, quick update.
Quick update is that unfortunately we are on the call it season 2 after the first 10 sessions of a health and
Lucy,
education.
can you introduce yourself, please, and what you're talking about?
I'm sorry, Lucy Howell, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Force for Health Network. And we are a virtual online academy trying to improve health literacy for all. About late May, we proposed to the group that we were going to do a bi-weekly health and education task force for this group, for anybody that wanted to lean in a little bit more, roll up their sleeves and maybe take some action out of this. And so a small but mighty group has met pretty regularly over the course of the last few months, and we are now going into kind of season two. The group decided to carry on the bi-weekly meetings through the fall. So I see Kelly, Paul, Mala, Aaron, several folks have been, I don't know if Heather Floyd is on here, and Gordon, and Steve, of course, my fearless leader. And so we've come up with some things to focus on, and pretty proud to announce that we've been able to get some partners across the state to launch, call it Fit Family Force Challenge, where we will be working with schools and libraries to put forth a regular challenge throughout the fall season to learn about why digital connectivity is important for health and wealth. And so just the fact that we can kind of go into the families and go through the schools and libraries as an outreach of this task force is pretty cool. So anybody that wants to learn more or get involved, please let me know. Unfortunately, today happens to be the bi-weekly date. I did just send out a cancel for today's meeting, so I'm giving y'all an hour back. Sorry about that. I'm going to be on a plane. So the next meeting will be in 2 weeks, and I will put a link in there. So yeah, if you are interested in just rural, we've got some things going on in the rural health space and in the accessibility space, and then also reaching out to families through schools and libraries. We will also be launching in September a live monthly broadcast called My Healthy Broadband. So that will allow some of this conversation to go out and kind of more publicly face, so that we can start educating the leaders and family leaders about this critical need of why digital connectivity is so important. So I will put my email and contact information in the chat. If anybody has any interest in joining, let us know. Paul, Kelly, did I miss anything? Awesome.
Great. Thanks, Lucy, for your leadership in making this happen.
No, thank you.
Appreciate that. So Derek, 2 seconds, and then we're going to turn it over to you. So as I like to remind people, because Lucy mentioned the chat, so if you want, as you know, I do send out the chat after the meeting. But if you want to have access to the chat and all the links today or immediately, that you can go to chat at the very top. There's 3 ellipses, and you can click on that and download the chat to your computer. So you will have immediate access to any links, contact information, etc. So just want to remind people about that. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Derek, who many of you already know. Derek's been around a long time doing really great stuff with the Sun Corridor Network over the years, and we're pleased to haven't seen him in a while, and glad to have you join us today, Derek, and give us an update on, for those of you, since there are a number of new people, as I mentioned to you, who are kind of new to us, and so they may not even know exactly what the Sun Corridor is, and then some of the great stuff you're working on. So with that, Derek, I'm turning it over to you. Are you there, Derek? We're seeing you're sharing.
I'm muted.
There you go.
Okay. Am I sharing now?
You are.
Okay, good deal. So thanks, Steve. Thanks for the intro. And yeah, I see a number of familiar faces and a number of new faces on. So I am going to do a little bit of an intro. So this will be a repeat for those of you who know who we are. But it's good to be here. It's good to be back. And happy to share an update today. So I always like to start with, it's nice to meet you. I'm Derek, and I'm the executive director of Arizona's Sun Corridor Network. I'm also the father of 2 boys, both one having attended the U of A and one actually there right now, literally, as we speak. If I'm not working, I'm usually outside, either in the garage or camping or boating or hiking or walking the dogs or what have you. So don't really like to spend a lot of time inside because working, I spend a lot of time outside too. Going to talk about what Sun Corridor is, our vision for a connected Arizona, and then our projects and priorities that we've been working on lately. So just jumping through those slides really quickly. So we envision, and I think this aligns really well with AZBSN and most of you on the call, is in Arizona where everyone's connected and has access to the resources, the digital resources in particular, that they need to thrive. And for us, the term network has a double meaning. And again, I think that aligns really well with the AZBSN, right? Networks are bits and bytes, and they're also humans and relationships, and both matter quite a lot in trying to connect folks together. So from telehealth to high quality education, reliable internet is a key driver for success in a digital economy, which is the economy we're in today. So here at Sun Corridor, we're Arizona's research and education network, and I know some may not be terribly familiar with the phrase, but our mission really is to advance connectivity, research, and education for all Arizonans. And I'll talk a little bit more about the R&E aspect here in a second. So we're here. We focus on anchors. Our early focus and our anchors are the state's universities, and I'll get to that here in a second. But we want to get them access to advanced, high capacity state, regional, national, and global ecosystems that empower them to thrive. And in the case of R&E, there are dedicated parallel ecosystems nationally and globally that exist kind of parallel to the actual internet at large. So we were founded by, and we continue to be governed by, the state's universities. We literally began supporting scientists, academics, and researchers at the state's universities. I worked at the University of Arizona for 21 years, where we built the initial Sun Corridor network in 2012. Our current board is made up of the CIOs at those three institutions. Lev at ASU, Steve at NAU, and Elliot at the U of A. Just an example of some of the schools that we serve. This isn't as current as it maybe ought to be, but the message on this slide here is that on any given day, we are the internet service provider and the access to the world to well over 600,000 learners and educators, and so a big kind of specialized job. This is a note about research and education networks. I'll leave it in. I assume maybe I'll share the slides afterward, but it talks a little bit about the Quilt, our national industry association. It's important to note, or maybe interesting to note, that most states have a research and education network that serves many, if not all, of the populations identified on this slide. This is a national map of those networks. You can see us over here in Arizona, but there's a whole bunch of them that we interconnect with and that we work with on a regular basis. I was talking to Joe during the kibitzing about the Link Oregon ecosystem, and they're all peers, and we all have very, very similar missions. One of the things that we do is provide access to what's known as the Internet 2. This is the nation's, it's the dotted line on this map and the red dots. It's the United States' national research and education network. And we have points of presence that we manage in both Tucson and Phoenix. And we bring that capability. This is a network that is, again, it's private, it's parallel to the internet. It provides very high-speed transit access to other universities, national laboratories, libraries, museums, and whatnot throughout the country. And then as you might imagine, other countries have their own national research and education networks, and the internet too then peers with them, making this a global ecosystem that we are the Arizona's conduit to. I can't see the chat. So if there's anything I need to pay attention to, please let me know. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about our projects, and I'm trying to move quickly because I know I want to hear what Morgan is up to as well. So I'm happy to go deep on any of these topics at any time after today's meeting. So I'm going to start with the Maricopa County Broadband Initiative. It's a collaboration that we're engaged in, and I know Kelly Mukherjee, who's on the call, or at least was on the call this morning, is one of our partners on this effort. It's a kind of a three-way partnership to bring broadband skills and mapping and awareness to Maricopa County, supported by a grant from Maricopa County directly. It's the team at ASU, that's Kelly, and they've developed the As1 ecosystem, which I hope you're all familiar with. If not, Kelly ought to speak about that at an upcoming meeting. I think she just interviewed Steve, right? I think
Yes.
for a story there. Yeah.
That was me. Yes.
Yeah. So I think you're familiar. And the Institute for Digital Inclusion Acceleration, IDEA, is an organization that advances digital skills through community events and through these concepts we call hives. And if you haven't heard from Aaron Carr Jordan on that front, you should. And then there's us doing broadband work under the Broadband Initiative in Maricopa County. And there's three pillars really to that work. Here we go. Here's the three aims, right? Broadband mapping, as I noted, and As1, that's where Kelly's work comes in, and ASU. Sun Corridor Network is delivering multi-gigabit capacity to rural and unconnected communities. And in that section, we have a middle mile piece where we're developing some middle mile, kind of a middle mile corridor that goes out Highway 60 to Wickenburg, comes across that northernmost highway in Maricopa County. Forget the name of the number, but it goes by Lake Pleasant, intersects with I-17, and then we're going to go down I-17 with the ADOT fiber down into our data center in downtown Phoenix. And then we're going to open that network up with access locations to off-ramp for providers to access in those rural communities in kind of the north and western portions of Maricopa County. Another aspect is our P3 partnerships. So we've run a grant program, and we've granted about $4 million to residential providers in Maricopa County to bring connectivity to certain disadvantaged neighborhoods. And then we have another program that brings connectivity to anchors, and we have several $1 million left to spend there. And in that situation, we've advanced connectivity to healthcare, to schools, to a mobile home park in particular with Triad Wireless as our partner. I think I saw Rory coming on the call earlier. So anyway, lots going on with the MCBI. This is a major initiative for us and for ASU. And then, like I noted, our partner IDEA is doing digital skills training and building these community tech spaces we call hives. And very happy to be partnered with them. This is more about MCBI. We've deployed 82 miles of fiber. That fiber will be extended to Las Vegas. We own the fiber. We just have to get the electronics deployed. We need to use funding that's not Maricopa's money because for politics. But here's IDEA. I'm going to skip through that because I said a lot already. Shikate is another initiative that we've been running now for 2 or 3 years, and what Shikate is, it stands for Southwest Higher Education Knowledge and Technology Exchange, and it's really a focused set of effort funded by the National Science Foundation to bring awareness to the infrastructure gap that exists in the West, largely because of things like canyons and mountains. Fiber's hard to build, right? Well, if you look at the collaboration map and the actual map of the United States, you can see there's not a lot of fiber inside of that donut hole right there. There's more and more lately. But what happens is if you want to collaborate in Arizona, generally you look east and west, not north. And that causes us to lose a lot of opportunity for research and opportunity for understanding the natural world because we can't transit data particularly well. And our researchers tell us that from our member universities. The data actually tells us that as well. So we've been convening policymakers and researchers and infrastructure builders and folks like departments of transportation to try to solve this problem or chip away at this problem for years now under the mantle of Shikate. That's a pretty major focus for us. Again, so our colleagues in Utah, Nevada, and ASU are helping in that effort. We have a lot going on in Yuma. I could talk for an entire hour or more about what we've been up to in Yuma, but suffice it to say, so we've built a point of presence in Yuma with the support of the National Science Foundation that's connected at 100 gigabits. So we bring 100 gigabit to an aggregation point of presence in Yuma that then serves the higher ed enterprise. So the 3 universities, Arizona Western College, and the University of Arizona's research farms are both connected at 10 gig. And on those farms, we've built advanced wireless capabilities with LoRaWAN and some private LTE to enable precision agriculture, crop monitoring, and task automation, and optimizing pesticides and fertilizers and water, right? Who doesn't want to optimize our use of water in Arizona? That program is now going to scale, I think, to about 118,000 acres. Yuma's prepping to scale that private LTE ecosystem with their tower, the county's tower program, and the broadband grant that they got years ago to help build the middle mile ecosystem. So lots of convergence of factors in Yuma that we've been proud to be a part of. And most particularly this kind of proof of concept around enabling precision agriculture, and what they can do with high speed connectivity. If you build it, they will come. Wild West kind of sparked out of Shikate. Wild West is another NSF grant. It's a $5 million NSF grant that we won last year with our colleagues in Nevada and Utah. This is actually a workforce development grant at its core. A lot of people think it's a wireless networking grant. It's not. It will do wireless networking in the name of developing a workforce that is focused on enabling science in the Wild West, right? So this is about enabling the observation of the natural world so we can better understand it and react to stimuli. And if we're going to do that well as a country, we need a workforce that's ready to do that. And so our Wild West program seeks, through the development of wild area networks, to develop a workforce that's ready to do that. So we're going to bring some connectivity. We're going to develop a workforce. We're going to develop a set of standards for the scientific community to advance our understanding of the natural world, particularly in the West, where water and fire and things are of particular concern. I'm going to focus on trying to wrap up here, so Morgan's got some time. But we've been working with ADOT, I think, for 10, 11 years now to advance the idea that that leveraging their right of way and putting conduit and fiber in there is a good idea. I won't say that we've been leading those efforts. I will say that we've been working with them. We're excited that the segments are built on I-17 and I-19, and 40 is under construction. And we're in the process of planning to light up some fibers that we have access to in the segments that are active. Once 40 is active, then we'll be able to get to our data center in Las Vegas through our Highway 60 expansion. And so happy to have supported that and happy to be bringing it online here very shortly, ideally in the next 3 to 4 months. These are just some slides about some of the research support that we've done. So I'm gonna just run through them really quickly. ARC is Arizona Research Computing. That's a group of tri-university supercomputing professionals that we convene and cover some conferences with. National Research Platform nodes. These are GPU nodes that are accessible to Arizona's higher ed community, academic or research purposes that are hosted by us here in Arizona. Fabric is a test bed for experimenting with new network architectures. We've enabled the use of Fabric here in Arizona, and we're working with a couple of quantum labs to advance some quantum networking ideas. It's funny, the quantum guys know all kinds of things about physics and photons and, stuff I can't even pronounce. But fiber in the real world is a thing they don't understand particularly well at all, right? And so when they want to take their experiments and put them in the real world, it's been fun to kind of interact with them. So with that, I'm gonna stop. I want to apologize. I was kind of intentionally a little bit quick there, but just kind of wanted to wet the whistle and give an introduction and give some time for my colleague as well. So Steve, if we have time for questions, I'm happy to take them.
We absolutely do, Derek. And I want to just say that it's just phenomenal what you guys are doing. You've grown from the early days when you were serving just the universities.
Just the universities, yeah, not that long ago. Yeah.
So, Derek, one thing that I have a question, I'm sure other people may, is so how do local school districts participate with you?
So the best way, we're happy to talk with anyone, particularly in the research and education community, but the way that schools get connected is they use E-rate, right? So that's a program that's administered by the FCC that subsidizes their connectivity. And in the E-rate system, they put out a proposal or a request for proposals, and we respond. And ideally, we win. Mostly we have to be very competitive on price and so we win some and we lose some. That's how it works here in Arizona. At this point in time, I have ideas for how it should work, but right now that's how it works. Again, we're happy to talk with anybody, but to get connected, you got to put out a request for proposal at form 470, and then we respond to that request.
So do you have libraries participating too?
We do not have any Arizona libraries on the network today, but that's mostly because we haven't won their business. Again, there are other ways that E-rate libraries are E-rate as well, so it works the same for libraries.
Okay, thanks. Okay, questions for Derek. Going once, going twice. And Derek, you want to introduce Laura?
Oh, is Laura here? Yeah, Laura Eder. She's she's on the call here. She's with she is our government relations focus expert. So Laura, say hi.
You want to say anything?
No, just so Mark had dropped in the chat an upcoming event. It's with the Fiber Broadband Association. So we'll be there with Nick and the governor talking about all the wonderful, cool things that are going on. Um, Love to connect with anybody and figure out how we can continue to bring broadband to Arizona and just continue to make our state better. Like
Yes.
we are amazing in so many things, and nationally, like I know people kind of like think about Arizona as, yes, the Wild West. So the Wild West is a perfect a perfect thing, but when you look at a lot of the different things that we're doing, we're really above and beyond nationally. So really looking forward to just continuing that and continuing to bring Arizona broadband and better community.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Thanks for being here. Derek, thank you.
Yeah.
It was
You bet.
good to see you again and getting a briefing on all the great stuff you guys are doing. It's really pretty
Same.
phenomenal.
Good to be here. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. So let's go to Morgan. Are you there now, Morgan?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, we're running a few minutes late. I was pleased but surprised to see Nick this morning. So we're glad to have you on board. And so, Morgan, you want to introduce yourself? As I think I communicated with you, you might want to talk about the Institute, and then you had some particular issues you wanted to talk about. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. Chokma, good morning. It's very nice to meet you all and to be a part of this community. My name is Morgan Gray, and I'm Chickasaw, but I'm also the newest Senior Research and Policy Analyst at the American Indian Policy Institute at ASU. So I've been doing this job actually part-time for a couple of months while I finished up a judicial clerkship with the Alaska Supreme Court. But I'm new to the Valley. I've only been here for a couple of weeks, and I'm new to the state of Arizona. So I appreciate all of the knowledge that you all are sharing with the group and with me in particular. The American Indian Policy Institute is a wonderful organization that strives to conduct policy analysis, and the point is to share that information with tribal communities to equip them with the knowledge and the skills that they need to navigate various policy arenas. So, prior to going to law school and doing my clerkship with the Alaska Supreme Court, I worked for my tribe, the Chickasaw Nation, for about 5 years, doing broadband and telecom policy work. I joined their team in 2018 and was with them through law school until about 2023. So I was with them when we were kind of navigating the post-COVID federal investment in broadband infrastructure deployment projects, helped them apply for TBCP funding and then BEAD funding, Reconnect grant funding. And so I've kind of seen how that environment has evolved over the last few years, but purely from the perspective of Oklahoma, which is very different than Arizona, but I'm excited to observe it from this state's perspective as well. But over the last couple of months, again, since I'm fairly new to this position, certainly new to it in a full-time capacity, my team and I have really tried to brainstorm resources that we can put together for tribes to help them navigate the changes that this administration has implemented over the last couple of months, specifically as they pertain to the BEAD program. So, about a month ago, I wrote just a very brief explainer going over the changes that the NTIA announced in their June policy notice that kind of overviewed all of the updates that they wanted to make to the BEAD program. And just based on the conversations that we've had so far, I'm sure you all are very much familiar with and aware of those changes. But in addition to providing a summary of what those changes entailed and how they differed from the original notice of funding opportunity, I also felt it was important to provide a little bit more of a deeper analysis into two changes that I thought would impact tribes particularly. And the first was the fact that the NTIA kind of dispensed with, or at least lowered, the local coordination requirements. So previously, states were required to kind of document their efforts to coordinate with local governing entities, including tribal communities. And now states could simply kind of self-certify that they had, received comments from tribal communities and that tribes had had the opportunity to comment on their final proposals. The thought that we had was that in states where, tribes might not have the best relationship with a state government, it could potentially present issues for tribes that might not get a meaningful opportunity to actually participate. And if there was no requirement to document those efforts, then there were no consequences to a state not really giving a tribe an opportunity to provide their feedback in a meaningful way. So I just kind of included a little bit of an analysis that tried to go over the potential implications of the less involved local coordination requirements, just to give tribes a heads up that depending on the state that they're in, they may need to be a little more active about asserting their voice within the conversation of where these funds are going and which projects are being funded within tribal lands. And then the second change that we thought would be particularly impactful for tribes, and not just tribes, of course, rural communities in general, was this new technology neutral approach and the new scoring criteria. As you all are aware, the original notice of funding opportunity really underscored the importance of fiber projects. And that was based on a determination that the NTIA had made that fiber was, scalable, it had the right bandwidth capacity, speed, latency requirements, good useful life, all of these things that were actually statutorily prescribed in the IIJA. That was not a finding that the NTIA seemed to renew in this policy notice, and instead, the agency adopted a technology neutral approach that allowed other types of technologies that were previously not eligible for funding to participate. But the impact of that is that particularly in rural communities, and I know many of you are familiar with serving rural communities, rural tribal communities. I think that there are a lot of tribal communities in Arizona that know how difficult it is to deploy fiber particularly, but just any kind of broadband infrastructure, especially in areas with particularly challenging topography. Like it was mentioned earlier, we have tribes that are landlocked within other tribal communities, and that gets really complicated and it's really expensive. So newer types of technologies, or I'm sorry, technologies that were not previously eligible for funding, they're quicker to deploy and they're probably a little more cost effective now. But just the idea that, the point, I think, of the BEAD program was to ensure that every household in the United States had access to broadband because Congress had found that access to internet was essential to participation in modern society, particularly after the COVID-19 pandemic. But even if these technologies are, cheaper to deploy now, in the long run, they might need to be replaced a little bit more than fiber that has, a longer useful life, and is probably a little more scalable. So we had been hearing from some tribal communities, not necessarily in Arizona, but just throughout the United States, that in this, recent benefit of the bargain round of applications, there were concerns that tribes that had originally submitted fiber projects simply would not be able to meet the NTIA's new definition of a cost-effective program or project. But it seems like, though, that at least here in Arizona and in other states, I think states are trying to be really creative about balancing that approach and making sure that fiber projects, are selected for funding to the extent that that's, possible. But those were just concerns that we kind of, had seen and wanted to be able to articulate so that tribes could think about how to approach this new benefit of the bargain round. But, to the extent that, coordination with local governments and local entities like tribal communities, just kind of jumping back to the previous topic, kind of ingrained in all of this is the idea that like any tribal project or any project within a tribal community will need to include a tribal resolution of consent That requirement seemed to be protected in this new policy notice, which was a great thing. But another thing that I think that we observed and wanted to analyze in this explainer was, I guess, just a potential consequence of when that tribal resolution of consent is actually obtained from the state. This recent policy notice kind of sped up all of the deadlines for the final proposals and draft final proposals, to the extent that a state was able to obtain a tribal resolution of consent for a project existing within tribal lands early. Hopefully that means, or that meant, that the tribe was able to bargain for a deal that would allow them some autonomy in the decision-making process. But if these, more sped up timelines resulted in maybe a state not having time to get that tribal resolution of consent earlier, it could result in a situation where a tribe is in a position where they have less bargaining power or less of an ability to negotiate for a partnership or an outcome where they would have more of a say in the decision-making process of how that solution is deployed within their tribal communities. So again, these are just some things that we were thinking about, and hopefully by writing about them, we're able to inform tribal nations that are going through this process now, and allow them to think about these things as this is kind of going on. And again, some of this is kind of moot, right? Because, states have only until next week or the week after to submit their final proposals. But, as, tribal nations are sovereign entities, it's important that they have as much autonomy over what happens within their tribal communities as possible. So it's great when there are states that are willing to work with tribes in a respectful manner, but not all tribes are so lucky to be in states that work with tribes in that capacity. So these are just some things that we've observed, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to present them all to you.
So Morgan, a couple of quick things. Could you again please explain the Institute and what you guys do?
Yeah. So again, the American Indian Policy Institute does policy analysis and research. So we generally try to keep our fingers on things that are happening both within the state level, but also nationally as well. And so whenever there's something, really big happening that's going to impact tribes, we try and analyze the policy and then create deliverables, and then just tangible resources for tribes to be able to navigate that policy issue on their own. And we have a couple of different policy areas that we focus on. So within the American Indian Policy Institute, there is a separate entity called the Center for Tribal Digital Sovereignty. And that's a recently new entity, but it was created in partnership with the National Congress of the American Indian. And so our goal there eventually is to create a hub of resources for tribal nations that are kind of embarking on this new journey of standing up broadband solutions within their communities. We also focus on education policy too. But in general, we're just looking at all policy, national and state level, that are impacting tribal nations.
So a couple of things that they are based at ASU, at Sandra Day O'Connor Law School. Am I correct?
Yes.
And obviously, as you heard from Morgan, that they are working nationally. Kelly Cruci, are you still online? Maybe she's not still here. Okay. Okay, questions for Morgan? Questions, comments, thoughts? Okay. Well, Morgan, thank you very much. Thanks for being here today, and hopefully we'll be able to see you whenever you can be here.
Absolutely.
And maybe Morgan, drop your contact in the chat if you can.
Sure. Happy to.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, we're going to any other updates that I missed that anybody wants to share this morning. Excuse me, if not, Morgan, thank you for being here. Derek, it was great to see you. Thanks. Good presentation this morning. And Laura, it was good to see you too. So it was good to see
Good to
all
see
of
you
you,
too.
but I appreciate, but I particularly appreciate the people who presented this morning.
So Derek made, I'm sorry, real quick. Triad Wireless was sold to Wi-Fiber about 5 months ago. So just letting you know that
Yes,
the new company is called Wi-Fiber.
Wi-Fiber. Yep. Thanks, Rory.
You're welcome.
So Rory, you want to take a second? I know you've kind of done this before, but you want to just tell us kind of what that means, what the changes are for you guys?
Well, it's a bigger entity. They've purchased as a corporation. They've purchased several other companies in other states. I think we're in 9 states now. We have the ability to do fiber and wireless deployments in all those states. So it's just, and I'm the CTO of the new company. I'm also involved, just real quickly, in another company. We spun off a division of Triad with our networking, some of our networking people. It's actually called Triad Net Solutions, with the focus being back in network operations, security, and we'll actually be actively involved with E-Rate again this year with the tribes. So we can. The big reason is that Triad has been in business 20 years, 23 years before we sold it, and we have a significant amount of experience in network operations, security, and so forth. And so we're moving back into that area as a separate company, separate than Wi-Fiber. They're now 2 different companies.
Okay. Thanks. Good to see you, Rory. We used to see you just about every week. Don't see you very much these days. I'm sure you're
Well,
busy.
the BEAD bids were, we were doing them across 9 states. So it was, but I'll be back every week. We're good.
Sounds good. And Derek, I meant to ask you when you were doing your presentation that you mentioned something about, if I remember correctly, cybersecurity. Can you talk a little bit about what you guys are doing in that space?
I probably said cyber infrastructure.
Okay, so I take that back.
Yeah, it's the term that the National Science Foundation uses to describe high-speed networks and storage and high performance supercomputing facilities. We're considering getting into like managed firewall kinds of services and things like that, but we do not do those things today.
I want to talk to you about that some more.
Okay.
Okay.
So Derek, throw it in there that the new company that we launched is a full AI-based network support operations. It's not going to be as manual as we're used to, but cybersecurity is a big issue. It's actually there's actually some pretty great stuff going on, obviously, because the attackers are now AI-based. So got to fight fire with fire.
So one of the things that we've discussed several times is the issue of cyber safety and cybersecurity, and that they're not necessarily the same. That some of the stuff, Rory, that you were just talking is more on the cybersecurity side, and how do you secure networks and computers and all that sort of stuff, versus how do people remain safe online. And they're 2 different things, at least in my opinion, and what I'm hearing from a lot of folks. And we've been doing a lot, in my opinion, on the side of cyber safety, but not nearly enough in the cybersecurity side. And so it's an issue that I think is really important at this point.
They are 2 different issues without question. For example, one of the things we tracked this week was a big issue where senior citizens are being hit. It's not one person calling them and trying to get them to do something. They're now hitting them from 3 different sources simultaneously. So it looks like one may not be legit, but then the second call comes in from a different department or a different company, and then a third call comes in, and we caught some of it going out, and some of the people have actually called us and let us know that, asked us questions, but it is way more sophisticated than it was before. So you've got, like I said, like you just explained, you have IDS and IPS, which is, and I talk with my hands here, IDS, intrusion detection systems, IPS, intrusion prevention systems. That's the technical side. And then you've got the human side. And what they've done is merge the 2 technologies together, where AI sounds like your next door neighbor. They literally are grabbing voices of people that you know and using that in automated attacks to then work the human side of the equation. it's nasty as it can get. But they've tracked over $1 billion in the last year that have been taken from senior citizens alone using these techniques. So that's a lot of what the new company will be tracking.
So the other thing that's become an issue for me personally, partially because it's been a personal issue, is tech support. And so, again, as we've been giving more people free or low cost internet and devices and all those kinds of things, where do they get tech support? As I mentioned before we started the meeting, that my internet kept dropping all the time and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And I thought it was Cox. And it turns out that my modem, I had an old modem, put it on a new modem, problem's gone. And so, how do people who don't have, I use the example all the time, and of course this relates to the cybersecurity of, and some of you have probably heard me say this until you're sick of it, but I always use the example of if you told people, hey, you need to update to change the password on your router. And they would say, what the hell is a router and how would I change the password? And why do I want to do that? And we have a lot of people who are in that situation today that we really have to figure out how we deal with that. But also, as I was saying, is the issue of, so my computer won't turn on today. How do I fix that? Where do I go? And when you're talking about low income people who barely can afford internet, and devices, can they spend $100 to go to somebody to help them fix what's going on with their computer? So how do we help those people to deal with those kinds of situations? So I'm not sure that we have a situation, a mechanism to do that now.
Well, that is one of the things we're addressing. So let me ask you guys a question, because this is something that's on the table right now. We actually have AI-based network management tools. I mean, I can actually show you what we're working on, and it's pretty incredible. Everybody here most people pay for some kind of antivirus or, maybe a Malwarebytes or Bitdefender or Norton or something to protect your computer. Would you pay a fee, say $100 a month, for an automated system that can immediately give you an analysis of what the problem is and direct you to do that? Or $100 a year, I'm sorry. I mean, who's willing to pay that? I mean, there is a market for it. You're not wrong, especially people who work from home. But the AI systems can now, even at the level we're at, we're still in the learning stage, we're still pulling data into the system, can tell you step by step what you should be doing. And why that's important is because it's already, when you sign up for an AI system like that, as opposed to going to ChatGPT or Google, this is actually already logged into your network, analyze the equipment that you have, and so it can give you a more intelligent answer, a more specific answer on how to fix a specific problem. I mean, how many people are willing to pay a yearly fee for that to work out of home? And then how much does it cost? Because 90% of it's going to be automated. So
cool.
I'm asking the opinion. Raise your hand. How many people here would pay a fee yearly that says you had if you had a problem, your computer would immediately be analyzed and give you an answer, in 10 seconds?
Only if it involved a human as well.
It would be backed up by a human if the information was not, if it was unable to take it further. Yeah, there's a point where even the AI, even though it's got, and then the second part of that question is this: how much privacy are you willing to give up? Because it's going to have to go in and get that certain information from your computer. I mean, we give every phone carrier all of our information anyway, and how many programs have access to our contacts and our pictures and our audio, and mention Chevrolet. If you and I, if all of us are talking and somebody said the word Chevrolet, now go look at your Facebook and all of a sudden you'll see ads for Chevrolets coming up. So somebody in this group's phone listened to that. Apple specifically, especially if you use any of the voice functionality. So it's a tough call. We do have the company coming up here shortly, should be operational in the next 2 weeks, and it will have those features. And Steve, your question is, yeah, that's one of the things on our table we're looking at for residential. So
and Rory, you mentioned this about that many of us do, like myself, who do have security systems on my computer. But again, for people who don't know, are they just safe with Microsoft's
no,
cybersecurity?
no,
Do they
no,
need?
no, 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 no. Just the answer
I,
is no.
I agree with you, but my point is that we have other people who don't have any clue that that's not adequate. Same thing with backup. Personally, I hate OneDrive, but that's my thing. But what do people do about backup? And how are we helping people to deal with those kinds of issues? So it's not just let's be safe online, but there's all these other kinds of issues out there. And are we doing a good job of helping all these people that we're getting connected to address those issues? Paul, you have a
Okay.
comment?
Yeah, just thanks for mentioning backup because I think that's one of the biggest things that people overlook until they absolutely need it. And it is devastating when somebody has lost all of saved on their different devices, whether it's mobile devices, their laptop, their desktop, or such. I've had too many heartaches where I've tried to help people and just to be able to say to them, I'm sorry, but there's very little I can do. I can recover and bring back certain things, but that's the piece that just kills you and kills people when they hit that point. And backup is very easy now with some of these cloud-based systems. But I would say that the vast majority of the population has zero backup implemented for their home-based systems. They just rely on if they take a photo, they put it in the cloud. That's about it. But I dare say there's a lot of other things that they probably should have backed up, but don't have backup. So anyway, I just thought I'd chime in there.
And Randy, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I had just a quick question for Rory since he's on. One of the big takeaways from the Arizona beat allocation was just the emphasis on wireless. So I don't know, Rory, if you had any thoughts or perspectives on that. It was both licensed and unlicensed that were significant winners.
Is Mark still here? Doesn't look.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will tell you, Mark and I put in a massive amount of hours trying to get the submissions in for the wireless, and we actually were unable to do that because the requirements were way more onerous than we anticipated for a 2-week window. It was on my personal opinion, it was utterly ridiculous, and we didn't get the best value because of that. There needed to be either a better analysis like some other states did or more time. But some of the questions, we would have had to go do site surveys and which was impossible across the state of Arizona. I mean, obviously
They
some of
asked
the
for
wireless
levels
companies
of
got in
data
there,
that
but
normally wouldn't be at hand,
yeah.
right? Not just normal propagation stuff, but whole levels of data that you'd have to perhaps do site surveys. But there was also a period of a week earlier when unlicensed wireless carriers could claim BSLs as served, and the requirements for that were onerous and a very high step. So there were really two phases at which unlicensed wireless, and then one phase at both licensed and unlicensed wireless had very heavy lifts that some simply didn't make.
Yeah, Jay, Randy, you picked a hot button for me. Probably not. My true opinion would not be appropriate for this meeting. So, anyway, but just hey, here's the last question. If you ever want to know what you should do, ask the guys what they do. Ask the professionals what they do at their home, and copy that. You ask me what I run on our home computers. I have Malwarebytes and Symantec's. I have the commercial version, but like Norton 365 or whatever it's called. That's on every computer I have.
I'm running Norton on my computers.
Yeah, and Bitdefender is also very good, and and you'll see different ones come up every year. But running Malwarebytes with an antivirus tool, a multifunction tool, is very good. I have a NAS at home, network address, a server that has big ass hard drives on. I'm sorry, my apologies, big hard drives in it. But at minimum, buy some 1 terabyte or half terabyte or small USB sticks, and just once a week throw them in there and give them to your next door neighbor, just so they're not on your property. So just keep backups that way.
I'm sorry, I need about 8 terabytes to back up all my data, but
Yeah, I understand, believe me.
photos, music, technical docs. But let me suggest one other tool. It's not technically cybersecurity, but I love something called C Cleaner from a company called Piriform, and I use that to uh, delete unnecessary files and clean up my registry entries, to check for software and driver updates on the computer, to edit, uninstall software, to pick and choose what's in my startup. It's a convenient tool for management that's more about the reliability of your computer than the security in the way that we talk about security.
The only catch with that tool, Mark, just, I would suggest most people would want a professional to use it for them, because it can blow up Windows too pretty easily.
And Mark, you might want to the chat it didn't spell it right. It said sheet, and I don't think that's the name of the program.
No, it's C Cleaner is what it's called.
Right. The company
CC
is
Cleaner.
Piriform,
Okay.
Piriform, and the product is C Cleaner, double C Cleaner. There is a free light version. I pay for a multi-system version, have it running on all 4 of our desktop and laptops at my home.
So I didn't catch that. I've used it before too. Don't use it now, but anyway. So anyway, I'm going to stop the meeting now, and if we want to continue to chat, you can stay online, and if not, we'll see you next week. Okay.